until you know who you are, you're going to be stuck in life. You're going to go through life feeling like you're lost. And this is the number one reason for why people feel lost in their lives. Like when they don't know why they exist and what their purpose and their unique mission in life is. Everyone has a purpose, and we know from the Quran and Sunnah, we know from the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that, we've been created for the purpose of ibadah, for the purpose of worship. However, if you don't know your own purpose, meaning that you don't feel like you have a mission and a purpose unique to you in your life, you're going to struggle. So in this episode, I'm going to dive into how to make that happen and what you can do to begin on the route of a life that you could possibly love. And that begins with this episode. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast, folk. We are going to be diving into probably what's the most important thing in any individual's life. If you go through your life and you're feeling like you're doing everything, you're on the treadmill of life, you're doing all of the things that they said you should do. We're educated to actually become workers in the factory of, economy. And when you do all of those things that everyone told you to do, when you grow up and you get a job and you get your degree and you get your family and you do all of those things and you're thinking that you're going to get some sort of fulfillment at the end of that, there's a stark reality for most of us. Once we get there, or we're even in the beginning or the advent of it, we start to feel this something missing. We start to feel that there is something more to life than just the things that you're collecting in your life. And that includes the accolades, that includes the wealth, the children, the family, all of that stuff. Like, you think that once you're married, things are going to be great. You think that once you have children, it's going to be even better. You think that once all of the things that they told you should have, once you have it, it's going to get better. But you realize very, very quickly that that true sense of purpose and belonging and the desire to actually feel fulfilled, you don't get that by accumulating all of the things that we do. And these are things that Allah encourages us to do, right? We're in the deen, we're encouraged to establish a family, establish the deen in our family, establish life and be producers and impact the world. We're encouraged to do that. However, what happens is that we lose ourselves in the many to-do lists and the many goals that we set ourselves, and they're not really dream goals. We dream of them only because someone's somewhere down the line has told us that we should want those things. Maybe it was your parents, maybe it was your teachers, maybe it was just the education system that produces us as factory workers. Now, the modern factory worker, you and I, like, we call that the corporate, right? And as we come into the corporate world, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not telling you that it's wrong and you should do something different, but life fulfillment doesn't come from this. Here's where it does come from. Like, feeling the sense of security, feeling the sense of fulfillment, it will never come from like all of those things that you thought would give you that. And you probably already know that, right? Many of my students are leaders of their businesses, their families, leaders in educational institutions, and you name it, people who are doing things in the world and what we would consider high functioning. Yet, like, we get so caught up in being, emotional that we don't understand why life is the way it is. And we have these thoughts like, I never thought it would happen to me. I hear that so often from my students. Like, this is one thing I never thought would happen to me. But let me tell you, like, I never thought that my life would be the way it was until I decided it was going to be that way. That's the moment it changed. So this is what I want to talk to you about today. And this is essentially what you and I can do to create a life that we love. One of purpose, one way where you feel a sense of empowerment, fulfillment, like you are actually on a mission in your life and you're living the best life. That's what we want. And that's what I want for myself, and that's what I want for you. So what you believe about your life will become your life. Like, it's really important to understand that. Like, I teach this to my students who go through Science of Nafs certification. Now, as they're going through it, the foundation, like, which is what I'm sharing with you here, the foundation is the first foundation is that belief and the connection to Allah. That is the first foundation. Like, when you don't get that right, then impacts your whole life. Like it drives your whole life. What you believe will become your life. What you try to avoid, right? What you try to intensely avoid, believing that things are going to be bad, like that will also become your life. And this is something that happens when we catastrophize the future, when we think that the worst of the future, and we think that, surely, I should have had a different life, but this is the life I'm getting. And what we don't realize is that what we're expecting from our future, we actually bring it into a reality. Because if you think about this, your mind, the thoughts that you have, let's make it very simple. The thoughts that you have in any given moment, the ones that resonate with you, the ones that are deeply ingrained in your heart, the ones that you truly believe, those thoughts they're going to be driving an emotional experience of your life. You're going to feel like apathetic or anxious or sad or angry or resentful. You're going to feel all of those negative emotions because of what's happening here in your heart. At the same time, if you are a believer in yourself, in your life, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you are a believer in all of these three things, what's going to happen is you're going to have a different experience. You're going to have the experience that actually gets you excited. You're going to have hope. You're going to have excitement. And excitement and hope, they're very different, right? Hope is something that will pull you into the future. Excitement will drive you into the future. These are two fundamental emotional experiences that you must really instill in your mind, instill in your body, so that it actually drives your results. And the way to actually live a purposeful, mission-driven life is that you have to decide right from the inception of your decision, of your journey. Meaning that it's important to recognize, one, your mind is creating all the results for you, and it has done up until now, and your mind is taking you in a direction. Right? And if you're feeling directionless, it's because your mind is going round and round and round, not deciding on anything, which is the reason that we feel directionless and we feel like we're on this constant treadmill. Everyone else is telling us, like, do this and do that, and you'll be happy, and do this and you'll be safe. And really, they're just giving you advice, what they think is the best advice, but really, it's not, tailor-made to your life. What is tailor-made to your life is when you decide to live the dream life. Now, what's the dream life? That sounds like cliche, but the dream life is the dream that you choose. The dream life is the life that you decide to have. And when you decide to have it, then you make a decision and a commitment to that. And what will happen is that you start seeing it rolling out in your life. And I'm going to give you some examples of this, but when I think about the example, I think about myself as a great example of this happening wrong and it happening right. Meaning that I've done it and I've failed multiple times in trying to achieve what I want, and I've done it and I've achieved everything I want. And the way that we do it is that we use this process, like the science of the Nafs, to actually optimize and create our lives the way that we want it. But one of the foundations of the science, which is what I'm introducing to you in this episode, is that it's the believer's mindset, right? The believer's mindset. You are either going to go through your life with a believer's mindset or a disbeliever's mindset. You're going to believe in yourself, in the possibility of making your life happen, and that's going to give you courage, that's going to give you excitement and hope. Or you're going to be a disbeliever in yourself. You're going to be a disbeliever in, the possibility of you leading an amazing life. And if you want to really understand who you are the person that you are believing in right now, right? And if you struggle with that, as many of my students do, even though they're super successful in many areas of their lives, if you struggle with that, what you're going to find is that the reason you struggle with that is because you are not a believer in yourself. You fluctuate between being a believer and a disbeliever in yourself. If you are a disbeliever in yourself, what that's going to do is it's going to instill doubt. It's going to make you second guess yourself, and it's going to make you reluctant to make decisions that actually serve you. And when we do that, look, I say this from experience in my own life. I've done this. Like indecision was something that plagued me. And it wasn't because I don't know how to make decisions. I know how to make decisions. Like I teach my students how to make decisions every day. But it's because the belief and the emotions driving me in that state, in that moment, are ones that actually make me feel insecure, right? And we don't like to admit these sorts of things, but reality is every single one of us humans, like we're in a natural state of insecurity when we do not have the pillars of security. One of the foundational pillars of security, if you don't already know it, if you haven't been following this podcast, is your connection to Allah, right? When you reconnect and you connect in a way that actually gives you that security, the fear that you have dissipates. It's not such a strong fear anymore. Even if it still remains there, it becomes weakened, right? So the thing is, I understand we all went through the education system, like the education system or the cultural upbringing, the parenting, maybe, whatever community background you're from, like these things, they teach us that if you work hard, do what you're told, then you'll end up with your dream life. And if you've been doing that for a long time, you're probably like me, like thinking like, when the hell is it happening? Like, when is it going to happen? And if you are doing that, and I did that for a long time, I did what they said you should do. But I had this rebellious streak in me as well. Alhamdulillah. I had this rebellious streak in me. And this rebellious streak is the streak that actually says to me, hold on a minute, like, are you using your mind to decide, or are you using someone else's mind to decide on your life? Right? Are you using your mind to decide? And when I realized this, I realized that actually I'm not making my decisions. If I'm following the systems, which is there for efficiency, but it's not there for the efficiency of your life purpose. Your life purpose, your mission in life is something that you have to decide upon. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Like, I haven't created, you. Allah hasn't created you and I except for the purpose of, ya'budun, like this worship. But, when you worship the creator of the heavens and earth, you are not subjugated. You submit, but your submission to Allah gives you freedom. It gives you power. It empowers you. So it's a very different submission as opposed to submitting to someone in the creation. Like when you submit to someone in the creation, when you are taking a job, then you have to do what they tell you to do. And there's nothing wrong with this intrinsically, but the whole point of you being able to use your skill and having a window of opportunity in your life where you can actually lead your life, even if you are working for people, even if you are, within the system. It doesn't make a difference whether you're within or outside, but being someone who gives, being someone who is a producer in your life, it has to be someone who is like content with what they're doing. Like I know many people, they do things their whole lives that they hate. They work in jobs they hate. And I understand, like me personally, I've chosen my whole life not to do that, right? And every time I found myself in that situation, I would find myself out of it because I would make decisions that would serve me, serve my purpose in life. And my purpose in life is to serve Allah. But ultimately, how do I do that? Right? How do I do that? And this is what I'm going to talk to you about here. So the thing is, look, I want to suggest to you that you have to be willing to dream, right? Because when we say, live a dream life, and I run a program called Dream Life, right? So the thing is, like, as I empower you to become the best you and live your best life, like the number one thing I'm thinking, well, living a dream life is the life that you choose, that you design, that you decide upon. And this is something that I do, and I've been doing for many, many years. And as I've been doing this, like, influenced by many different people, like one of them, Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif, rahimahullah, like, I was influenced by his being in the world, like the way that he showed up in the world and the way that he led. He was a true leader. Allah yarhamuhu. So the thing is, in that leadership, leading in the education field, leading in impacting people's lives, like what we learn is that We learn that being a leader means being afraid and still doing it, being afraid and doing the hard work, being afraid and making your desire and your belief in yourself, your creator, your mission so big that the fear actually becomes insignificant. It's like you become the elephant in the room and your fear becomes the mice, right? Or the mouse. So just imagine that. Like the fear is so small now, like you can stomp it out with one leg. Now, this is how it should be, but that can only happen, and the fear never goes away, by the way, right? We're not talking about chronic fear that produces panic attacks and anxiety. We're talking about the fear that prevents you from living a life that you want. And you can live a life that you want, but you got to decide upon that right from the inception. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat," like your amal, your actions, the things that are going to create your life. The things that create, what we do creates life. What we think, feel, and do creates life. So the things that you do are determined by what's happening here, what's happening in your mind. And when you do that, when you actually focus on producing those results, like doing the things that you want to do, then you're only going to be able to do that is if you decide that right at the beginning. You got to decide right at the beginning. You can't decide at the end. Deciding at the end means that you're living your life by other people's decisions, right? Like you can live a dream life. A dream life is not this Hollywood lifestyle, or where it's not the glitz and glamour of Instagram. It is not the things that you are looking at out there. The dream life is the one that you dream of having. Like, what is it that you want your day-to-day life to be like? What results do you want? Like, one of the things that we all want is that we want peace of mind. We want like to feel connected, to feel loved, to feel like we have mission and purpose, and that we are doing something good in the world. And this is the number one reason why I'm talking about this, because I train people that are out there raising their families, raising themselves, helping people in their community. I train coaches in the science of the Nafs. This is the most fundamental tool that I've come across in my life. And the whole journey of this, coming to this, was a journey of dreaming and being willing to pursue my dreams. Like I remember I reached out to a number of different people within the, well-known people within the Islamic space, like many, many years ago, like asking for mentorship and help. And for the most part, people are busy. Like they're so busy in their lives, raising their families, doing their projects. Like they don't have time. Like the reason I mentioned Sheikh Muhammad Sharif, like because he was one of those people that I reached out to. And when I reached out to him, he responded, and his response was the most beautiful response. It was the most beautiful response, and he didn't know me from Jack, or from Muhammad, or from whoever, right? He didn't know who I was, but he responded, and in his response, he gave me some advice, and he gave me some help, even in the emails that he sent me. And the help that he gave me was like a game changer for me. It was a mind opener, because what that did for me was that it led me to decide that I'm not going to hang around waiting for someone else to do it for me. I'm not going to wait for a mission to appear. I'm going to decide on what that's going to be, and I'm going to make it happen. Like this brother, he is a good role model. For me, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking like, mashallah, tabarakallah, he has done some amazing stuff, right? With Al-Maghrib Institute and stuff before he did that. Like he is he's the one that actually impacted and helped all of the people that went, the instructors that came into that institute that have gone on to do amazing things in the world and are doing amazing things. But he was at the inception of it. He was a leader. So the thing is, in order for you and I to be leaders, and that inspired me. I'll tell you that story because I found his details. I messaged him and he responded a few messages, and he helped me in that what he probably considered very little help. But that help for me was huge because it gave me a direction. This is one of the reasons that I do this podcast. I do this podcast for people like me that are out there, people like you and I, who are out there looking for the help, that want to know what they should be doing, what they can do. And the first thing that you can do is you can decide that you are the one that is willing to believe in yourself. That's the first thing. You've got to believe in yourself. Like when you believe in yourself, your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be unwavering, because what will happen is that you become empowered, confident. And as that happens, what will happen is that you will grow. You will grow. You will have many failures en route to your goals. Like you set your dream goals, but because you decide from the inception what that goal is going to be, because you decide from that inception, from that moment, you decide what you're going to do, then what will happen is that you will, like through your connection to Allah, you will like get the only true facilitator of life to facilitate your life. Like you will implore, you will make dua. And as you do that, you're pursuing your life. You're pursuing your life, you're making dua, and what will come of that is that you will become the person that you've been looking for. And I want you to think about this. Like I began this by saying that we get in life what we believe, right? And when you believe in yourself, you will get you. You will be the end result. And the facilitator to all of this is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Like this is the very journey that I've taken. Like, in another example I'll give you, the inception of the Muslim Life Coach Institute, like bringing, like I put together the Quranic Science of the Nafs from probably 25 to 30 years of research and studying and traveling and doing all of those things. Like I've spent my life figuring this thing out, right? And as I've done that, like it didn't just appear one day out of the blue, right? When I came into the industry and I began under the banner of coaching instead of as an imam or a teacher, then almost immediately there's this welcome from the community by the grace and mercy of Allah and by their generosity. And there's also this pushback, because what I'm talking about is very much different to what is out there already, right? And this isn't about rubbishing what's out there. This is about like giving to you, the Muslims, the Ummah, giving to you what is there within the fabric of your constitution. Your constitution is the Quran and Sunnah. And within the fabric of that constitution, there is everything that you need. And so as I pull this stuff out and I establish an institute to teach this and start training people and taking coaches through this, like they're getting the most amazing experiences and transformations in their life. They're going from, on the verge of divorce to being married and happily married. They're going from being not married to being married. They're going from being stuck in their lives to like really flourishing their lives. And it's not because of me, but it's because of them, because they began a journey in believing in themselves. And as they did that, what happens is that life starts to change, and it starts to change rapidly, right? And as it starts to change rapidly, we're not looking to heal for the rest of our lives. We're looking to create lives that we by choice design. Right? Your mission in life is the dreams that you choose, not someone else's dreams. It's your dreams. And when you decide on that, what will happen is that you will have failure all the way. You will have failure all the way. When I began this dream of establishing this institute and training the Muslims all over the world, like when I had no one, no inkling of anything near to what we've created by the grace and mercy of Allah in the world today, like at that point, like it was just a niyyah. It was just an intention. It was just a belief. And it was the belief in myself, in my creator. It was the belief in my ability to show up and fail and find the way and do it. And it wasn't that alone. Your belief is never enough by itself. It was the asking of Allah every single day and never giving up, never believing that Allah would never answer my du'as. Allah always gives you what you ask for. So if we go back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast, like what I am saying to you is that you will get in life what you believe, right? And if you are making dua and you don't believe in it, then you're going to get what you don't believe in, right? But if you believe in it and you truly focus in on this belief, then what's going to happen is that you are going to create things in your life that you did not imagine possible at the beginning. But as you move on up through your dreams, through the different levels of it, you're going to realize that, subhanallah, the creator of you and everyone in your life and everything that you could possibly want is the only one that has to facilitate all of this. All you have to do is that you have to run your mind. And this is exactly what we do. Run your mind, run your emotions, change your behaviors, make those conducive to the end result that you want. This is the science of the Nafs. We change the state of mind, psychology. We change the state of your connection to Allah, spirituality. And we're not talking like anything other than like your connection, like your expectations of Allah, your salah, you know, all of this stuff, like your relationship with your creator changes. So those two things are driving your life. And when you are then willing to believe, then what will happen is that you get to create your life. It is so amazing. And every one of my students, as they go through this, they talk about how amazing this is and how they could never imagine that it would be this simple, right? And it would happen this fast. But that's revelation. It is simple. Allah gave us 5 pillars, didn't give us 50 million pillars. 5 pillars, made it really simple. And the most important thing about this is that you will create the success that you choose. Choosing a dream life doesn't mean that you won't fail along the way. But each one of those fails, like I had these stumbling blocks all of the way before establishing this institute, before training all of these coaches and therapists, before taking my students through total life transformation, before helping them to, you know, become the biggest problem solvers that they've ever known so that they can overcome every obstacle. Before they got to that, they had to fail a little. Right? So if you have failed up until now, this is the moment that you decide that you're going to create success, right? It doesn't matter what we consider failures, because, you know, many of my students are very, very successful in the material sense, in the relationship sense, but in some area of their lives, they're struggling, and we feel as though we're failing, and it's necessary that we work hard. Right? Hard is not, why does life have to be hard? Because if you're telling yourself, why does life have to be hard? Hard is just the feeling, right? And if you are feeling life is hard, then you can change that. You change that by changing your emotional experience. This is what I teach. This is the second pillar of what I teach in the science of Nafs, like real emotional transformation, emotional leadership. Like you get unstuck. And as you do that, then you are released from your past. You're released from all of the things that hold you back. And you're released from that fear of the future. And then you get to create your life the way that you want it. Here's the way you should do it. And I want to leave you on this. Like, you are the one in charge of your life. You've got to be willing to dream. You've got to be willing to fail a little, work hard a little, to make the things that you love a part of your life right now. And when you make it a part of your life right now, you don't have to wait for someday in the future to enjoy your life. You can start to enjoy your life now, this week, this month, this year. It's not about someday in the future. It's about doing it now. The minute you begin, you see, the thing is, the minute you begin with that intention, that decision to live your greatest life, your purpose, your mission, you decide what that is. No one else is going to decide for you, but you decide. The minute you do that, you begin to live in the process of that. Living in the process of that, what that means is that you're living in the day-to-day grind of that. And grinding isn't grinding you down, it's making you strong, it's powerful. And this is what we do. And this is the journey that every student of mine goes through. And as you go through this journey, this is exactly what you're going to go through. You're going to love it. And the most important thing about this is that your connection to Allah is the best it's ever been. Your psychology is yours to control. And your relationships, you nurture them. And inshallah, I'm going to leave you on that. And this is the month that we are starting this. Next month, in the month of July, I am actually starting a program where I'm going to help my students. Like, the certification begins, and I'm going to help my students, the coaches, to plan out their life. We're going to actually do the work, right? Plan out their lives and create their dreams and make their life happen. And we're going to do it all this year. We do not wait for a future someday. We make it happen in our lives today. And if you resonate with this, like, what I suggest is that you jump in, you use this process, and you make your life happen. I'm going to leave you on that. Jazakumullah khair. Hey guys, thanks for listening. in on this podcast. If you are ready to up-level your mind, emotions, and relationships using a Quranic solution, you're going to love this podcast and what we are going to be sharing over the coming episodes. This is the most fundamental training that you're going to go through in your life. You can use it to transform your life, your mental and emotional health, your relationships, how you parent, how you are in your marriage, and truly your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are loving this and you want more of it, click subscribe, or if you want one of our free trainings, go to themuslimlifecoach.org and sign up for the free training. You're going to love it. I'll see you on the inside. Jazakumullah khair.